Welcome to One-on-One with Brian Harmon. I am Brian Harmon, sports editor of the Greenfield Daily Reporter. Today we're joined by a very special guest. He is the first-year baseball coach of Shenandoah High School, Bruce Stanley. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You guys are in the middle of a very good year, but before we get into the specifics of the Raiders, I want to ask you about first-year coach of an Indiana high school baseball team. I know for us as a sports news staff, it's frustrating because of the rainouts and stuff. Mm-hmm. What are the challenges of playing high school baseball in Indiana where the practice time sometimes is limited?
A lot of the challenges obviously are weather. I think weather being a big factor, and then trying to compete with some other sports. Indiana being a big basketball state, trying to get kids in off-season workouts, things you need to do to be productive the next year, seem to be a little bit of a challenge. But weather being the biggest thing, getting games in and making them up, and that's probably the biggest factor.
You enjoyed a very successful high school career at Shenandoah, then you had a great career at Ball State. And at Ball State, I know you traveled around the country playing different teams. Was there a difference in the talent level you saw who guys from maybe the SEC or grew up playing in year-round warm weather as opposed to Indiana kids in baseball?
Yeah, there was a little bit. Ball State was a little bit different because we had some of those Southern State kids as well. Okay. But yeah, there is arm strength's a difference, conditioning's a difference, just a lot of overall knowledge of the game. I think the more kids can play, the better knowledge they have. So, I mean, you go to the Southern States, it's hard when you go down there in spring break and we have game 1 and they're on game 15. Right. So, but yeah, that makes a little bit of a difference.
One thing I've noticed around Central Indiana in the last, 10 years is all these facilities popping up for year-round baseball. Have you noticed that trend as well? Yeah,
there's a lot of, it's a big thing now, year-round baseball. It's hard. Kids are kind of expected to specialize a little bit. So the year-round baseball has definitely become more of a big thing. I think, kids having the ability to go to those places all winter long and do the things they need to do, it makes a big difference.
For your Shenandoah kids, what do you tell them, or what are you going to tell them after the high school season ends? Are you going to say, hey, you should be in a travel team, or are you saying don't specialize, or what's your advice to players?
I like kids to play. I'll probably push as many kids as I can to play travel ball. I'm kind of lucky this year. I've got about 7 or 8 kids that are just baseball kids, so that makes life a lot easier on me. I've probably got 4 or 5 playing pretty solid travel ball. I try to get kids as much as I can in the summer. We've got a small summer schedule that I'll try to get kids involved in. Try to bring up some of the 8th graders that are going to be freshmen, but. Yeah, I try, but Shenandoah is such a big football school, man, and football takes off that I lose a lot of those kids. But I definitely like my kids to play somewhere in the summer if they can.
Yeah, Shenandoah has a very good sports reputation. Football, as you mentioned, they're normally good in basketball, boys and girls basketball, a lot of different sports. They're a very good small school sports program. You're a 1993 Shenandoah graduate. Mm-hmm. What's that like coaching at your alma mater?
It's pretty cool. It's nice. The neat thing is, none of the kids really know me from that era, so it's starting over again. But it's nice. The athletic director coached me. It's nice to be able to go back. I love the small school setting. It's nice.
Reminder to our viewers: Shenandoah will be playing in the Henry County Baseball Tournament on the 22nd of May. They have Knightstown in the first round. They'll play the winner of Blue River Valley Try in the second round. That'll be here on NineStar Connect Sports. Coach, I was looking at your schedule. It's pretty loaded.
Yeah.
You've got some big schools, Anderson, Mount Vernon's on there, a couple other big schools, Rushville. And then the small school teams you play, you have Knightstown, who you've already played a great game with. I think it was a 2-0 loss for you guys. Knightstown's ranked number 1 in the state in 2A. LaPel, I believe, is ranked number 2 in the state.
Yeah.
They're on your schedule and in your sectional. Was it a daunting schedule when you looked at it, or did you know that's what you're going to have coming in?
I had a conversation with my parents at the beginning of the year, and I've tried to increase it. We added Fort Wayne Carroll at the beginning of the year, and then we also added Muncie Central. We lost Union. My feeling is, if you want to make it to the state finals, you have to be prepared, and So that was kind of a challenge for me to get my parents to understand that when we opened up at the 10th ranked team in 4A at Fort Wayne Carroll. It was rough, but yeah, I want to try to continue to improve our schedule and just make it more difficult. We got a kid named Zach Thompson at Wapahani. He's going to Kentucky, and he's pretty good. And Brady Cherry from Lapel, he's pretty good. And my feeling is I can't beat those guys in sectional if we don't play people that are challenging, leading up to sectional. So.
Tell me about that game versus Knightstown. 2-0 loss, obviously probably could have gone either way. And if that's the best team in 2A, you had to, no such thing as a moral victory, but I'm sure you had to feel like you took some positives out of that.
Yeah, we left kind of with a sour taste in our mouth. You're playing the number 1 team in the state, and we gave up 2 in the first. So from the first inning on, it was 0-0 game. So it left us knowing that we're right there, and take away some of the early mistakes we made. We left feeling like we could compete with about anybody.
And then you guys also had a game with Pelton Heights recently, another big school that you guys took on, kind of a nearby opponent, but still a big school that you don't necessarily have to play. They're not in your conference, obviously. Tell me about that Pelton Heights game. What did you guys take out of that?
Same thing. I think I have a bunch of kids who put in a lot of work this winter, and we lifted for 4, 5, 6 months. We were hitting and throwing, in the open gym setting, prior to season starting. I feel like when we leave those games, again, I feel like we're right there. The Pendleton game is always a big game for us. Like you say, it's right down the road. It's good competition. They're always good. It's just one of those things we left, again, kind of with a sour taste in our mouth, thinking we're right there. We're right there. So. And
I know the starting pitcher for you guys that day was your son, Cy.
Yeah.
You're coaching at your alma mater. Your son is pitching for you on your team. Is it all just kind of surreal at this point? Did you ever think you'd be here at this point?
I kind of hoped. I did. I hoped. It is surreal. It's a lot of fun. I don't know that I would want it any other way. He may have a different feeling on that at times, but no, it's a great to be able to coach my son, and he's a competitor, and maybe one of the things he got from me, but yeah, it's awesome to be able to coach my son. I really, in that Pendleton game, it just fell the way it just happened to be his start, and playing summer ball he plays, it's not as big to him. He's been in big games before, so he handled himself pretty well and competed, and that's really all we sit down at the end of the day and talk about is just making sure he competes.
All right, we'll take a quick break right now. We come back, we'll be back with Bruce Stanley. His Shenandoah baseball team is enjoying a very solid year. They've got a game coming up on May 22nd against Knightstown in the Henry County Tourney. That'll be on NineStar Connect. We'll take a break. We'll talk some more Shenandoah baseball. This is One on One with Brian Harmon.
Hey, this job looks perfect. It says you need people skills.
Check.
Driver's license.
Check.
And a high school diploma. You've got one of those, right?
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
I got that.
You are good to go.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome to One on One with Brian Harmon. I am Brian Harmon, sports editor of the Greenfield Daily Reporter. We're joined today by Bruce Stanley, first-year head coach of the Shenandoah baseball team. Shenandoah, May 22nd, will play Knightstown in the first round of the Henry County Tourney. They've already played Knightstown, which is the top-ranked team in 2A. It was a great game, a 1-0 loss for Shenandoah. Coach, I'm intrigued that you're back at Shenandoah because you're a guy who put yourself in a position. You had so many options, had a great career at Ball State, drafted by the Orioles. Talk about that point in your life where you were drafted and then what you kind of had to choose between that brought you kind of back to Shenandoah.
That was a fun time. It was obviously something I had dreamed about my whole life. That process and throughout the whole thing, I got drafted my junior year by the Orioles, and it was pretty high. I didn't get into as much money as I felt like I needed to be able to go. So I came back my senior year. We had a new coach my junior year too, Rich Maloney, who made a huge impact on my life. And so we were turning the corner. We were terrible my first 2 years, turned the corner my junior year. We had some success. I got drafted, saw more success could come if I came back my senior year. So that was the deciding factor between my junior and senior year, was, you know, being part of something special. My senior year when I was drafted by the Royals, I got to the point where I was just kind of tired. Okay. And one of those things that being where you're told, you know, being where you have to be and being told where you have to be, and just got to one of those times when I was ready to move on. Didn't touch a baseball for 6 months to a year. Got into teaching, and as soon as I got into teaching, I was at Muncie, and just kind of decided I wanted to go back into coaching, and tried to get back at Shenandoah. Being a small corporation, not many jobs open up many times. Mm-hmm. Job finally opened up in my field, interviewed for it, and I just knew this is where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do.
What do you teach?
Special education.
Okay, awesome. I know that's very rewarding. I know a few special education teachers, and they get a lot out of it.
Yeah, it's kids are good. Kids are good. They make it worth your while for sure.
I should tell our viewers he was drafted as a pitcher. I think I failed to mention that. What kind of pitcher were you? Fastball slider. It was just get it and go, and throw it hard and see what happens. Talking about pitching and at the big league level, I know now they're trying to change the pace of games a little bit in Major League Baseball, even in minor league baseball. What's your take on trying to, the pitch clock and that sort of thing?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think I'm just a realist in baseball. I'm a traditionalist. I like things the way they always have been. I feel like baseball is one of those sports that I wish they'd just leave it alone and just let it be what it is, because to me it's the greatest sport ever. I don't like the reviews. I don't like the replays. To me, it's the umpire's discretion, and I wish they would just leave things alone the way it is. I mean, part of pitching is taking your time and offsetting the hitter, and you speed things along, and it changes all that.
I'm kind of slow, so I just realized that your son's name is Cy. I'm assuming that's a baseball reference.
Funny story. My wife made that. We were watching the All-Century team one time, and they were announcing it. It was at Fenway, and we were watching the game, and they were announcing players, Ken Griffey Jr., all these players, and she heard Cy Young announced, and it wasn't due to that. She just said she really liked the way it sounded when it was announced, and of course, me being a baseball guy, I wasn't going to say no. So, yeah.
You're a Red Sox fan.
Yes.
Talking about the pace of the game issues, I know David Ortiz, the Red Sox slugger, he was one of the guys adamant that he didn't like the pace of play, and hopefully he's adjusted a little bit. But how are your Red Sox? How are you feeling about their chances this year?
They need pitching. They need pitching bad. I think offensively they're fine, but their pitching is struggling right now.
Let's talk about your team, Shenandoah. What are your guys' strengths right now?
We're competitive. We're very competitive. We stay in games. We had, I think, our first 8 or 9 games. I think we had 8 one-run games and 1 extra inning game. They're just a gritty bunch of kids. Pitching has been really good for us. Defensively, we've been strong. I mean, all around, I don't know that we have a strength. We're just kind of, I don't know, we're kind of who we are. I would say if I had to pick a strength, it would just be their sheer competitiveness. They just compete, and they don't. Our motto is you got to believe, and I've been saying it all winter long, and they're buying into it, and you can tell when we get in those one-run games that they do believe, and I think that's been a big difference and a big change from last year.
Now, you were an assistant coach for several years, is that correct,
Yes,
under Jack Lewis?
Yeah, Jack and I coached back in the 2000s. Into the 90s, 2000s, then we both got out of it. Jack came back the last few years. He moved on to Butler softball. Okay. So it was pretty fitting for me to just kind of jump right in. And yeah, he was really fun to coach with. Learned a lot from him.
I'm sure you approved of most of what Coach Lewis did you as a staff, but as you have kind of taken over as head coach, is there one tweak or one thing that you do slightly differently? Or do you have a particular style of baseball that you like to play?
I'm real aggressive. Coach Lewis was too. I don't know that. I mean, we're pretty close to the same. We have a lot of the same philosophies. He had more of a softball background, I guess, early. So the small game was big to him, bunting, hit and runs, you know, those kind of things. Where when I played, like at Ball State, we played for the double, and so I think that's maybe one thing I do a little different than he does. I like bunting, I like the small game, but he's definitely more of the small game type of guy.
We talked about the pace of play changes at the major league level. One thing that's also kind of in transition a little bit is all the analyticals, you know, all the stats. You talked about bunting. There's kind of a big debate right now, is bunting worth it? Is it worth giving up that out to an advanced runner? Some coaches I'm hearing more coaches saying, you know what, bunting's not really worth it. Let's not even worry about it. But a lot of guys still believe in that small ball.
Yeah.
Which side of the fence do you kind of fall on?
I find myself, I'm not a big bunt the guy from first to second. It still takes a lot to get him home from second. If we get a leadoff double, or you know, I like getting guys to third base with less than 2 outs. If we can get a guy to third base with less than 2 outs, I feel we can get a ball in play to score him. A little bit more difficult. I'm more the guy from first to second. I'd rather try a hit and run, straight steal and protect. You know, those are the kind of things but I like getting that guy to second with no outs to be able to try to get him to third. So I guess bunting's good, especially against Knightstown. We were trying to bunt because we couldn't do anything else.
Right.
But you know, it's got its scenarios, and it depends on who's up and you know what situations you're in.
Do high school kids buy into bunting, or do they want to swing?
It takes them a while. I mean, they think it's dumb. I think I waited all this time to bat to bunt the ball right there and get out. So it just takes that whole team concept too, where it's bigger than you, and that's what we always tell to our kids is, you know, your at bat's bigger than you. So.
On a pitching level, with your experience as pitching, do the kids seem to really appreciate your knowledge? I mean, as far as you went with pitching as a player, do they seem to really appreciate your knowledge on that?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I spend a lot of time in the bullpen in the off season and during the week during practice, just talking. I think they do. They seem to pretty much buy into what we're trying to do. You know, throw a lot of strikes early in the count, and you know, we've done a lot better this year walking people, and that's probably part of the reason, you know, our record's a lot better than it was last year.
What's the number one mistake you see high school pitchers make?
Ball one. You fall behind, and you know, I preach to my hitters: get to a 1-0 count, get to a 2-0 count, get to you know, where they're ahead. Ball one kills you. A ball one of any at bat. You know, I'll take my pitching chart after the games, and we'll go through with each pitcher, and I'll talk about, you know, look what happens. 85% of the time, you'll look, and there'll be a walk that has scored at some point in time in the game. And that normally starts with ball one. So we really push strike one, and we really push just don't put people on base for free.
Is that about the kids trusting their defense? Hey, if you throw it over the plate and they hit it, I mean, is that?
It's a big portion of it. It really is. You know, kids have to buy into the fact that the kids are going to make the play. If as a pitcher, if I don't have confidence in the guys behind me making the plays, then I press more. But you know, we're fielding the ball real well, and I think our pitchers have bought into the fact that if I throw strikes, good things happen.
Awesome. We'll take a break here. We'll be back with Shenandoah baseball coach Bruce Stanley and his team, which has the Henry County Tournament coming up May 22nd. This is One-on-One with Brian Harmon. We'll be right back.
Hi, may I please have an application? Thank you.
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
Okay.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to One-on-One with Brian Harmon. I am Brian Harmon, sports editor of the Greenfield Daily Reporter. We're joined today by Bruce Stanley. He is the head coach of the Shenandoah baseball team. Coach, you guys are in you got a great regular season schedule. You get in a good conference. You're going to get to play Knightstown for the second time this year, coming up on the 22nd in the Henry County Tournament. And then you have a sectional that includes, I think, number 2 ranked LaPel, Wapahani, which is what, the defending state champ?
Yes.
We talked about your schedule before. At this point in the season, where's the kids' confidence?
It's pretty high. It's pretty high. They going to Fort Wayne Carroll and taking that first doubleheader was huge. And I knew it was going to be one way or the other. We were going to go there and do well, and things go well, or go there and struggle, and then have to build some things back up. Kids are pretty confident right now, especially getting beat by Knightstown 2-0, knowing we didn't play well. Their confidence is pretty high right now.
It's been since '06 since the baseball team won a sectional, a loaded sectional at that right now. Do you guys talk? Do you talk about the word sectional, or is that too far out there? I mean, do you put that as a goal, or?
Well, we put it as a goal. The one thing I've always talked about my kids is you don't set your goals at sectional. If you set your goal at sectional, what do you do after you reach that goal? Then you got to set another goal. So we just talk a lot about just competing and really making sure we're in every game and putting ourselves in the right spot to where when we get to sectional, we're playing the best we can.
Looking down through your roster, I mean, this isn't a make or break year. It's not like you're going to lose 15 seniors.
Yeah.
You have just a great mix of a lineup. I've seen a lot of sophomores and juniors, though. Two of your best hitters, Max McGee, Brendan Dowd, are both sophomores. Tell me about those two kids.
They're baseball kids. They live and breathe baseball. They're competitive, always have been. They're just doing a good job doing the right things. We always talk about Brennan. He may go 1 for 4 in a game, but every time he goes 1 for 4, it seems like there's runners on second and third. He just gets it done, and Max has just been real productive. Brendan played some varsity last year. Max played very little. So Max has done a really good job stepping in that shortstop spot. Tough spot, demand a lot out of that. But they've done a really good job, been very, very competitive.
In other sports I hear about, especially it seems like in basketball maybe, if you have a freshman or sophomore who comes in, he's taking playing time from someone, most likely an upperclassman. Do you worry about chemistry and issues in baseball, or is it less relevant?
It's relevant. I think more along the lines, I like kids to buy into the system and kids to buy in for one another. I told kids at the beginning of the year, this being my first year, I made a statement. The paper came in, I think it was the Courier-Times, came and interviewed me and asked me about kids. And my response was, I'm not giving any names. At this point in time, when you're 10 and 15 the year before, I'm not sure anybody has a secure job. So I told the paper, I said, we're going to let kids compete and see what happens. And things have worked out. I mean, the kids that put in the effort are seeing the results. And I think when you spend all winter together in a weight room and you condition together, then you get out, you pull for one another. And I think that's kind of the situation we're in. Everybody's worked hard together, so they're kind of pulling for each other right now, which makes the chemistry pretty good.
And tell me about some of your senior leaders. Who else is playing well for you guys and leading you guys this year?
Really, I've got 8 seniors, and they're all being productive. Colin Cronk has done a great job on the mound for us. I think he has 4 wins and 55 strikeouts. Braden Crow is our senior catcher. He's done a very good job. He's really kind of elevated his game and just done a very good job blocking, being productive, talking. Jarrett Vardaman is our leadoff hitter and plays center field, and he's been very productive. Defensively, he's been as good as I've seen him. Jake Fish plays third for us, and he's done a really good job. He's made huge adjustments in his swing. J.J. Myers has done a good job. He doesn't play as much as some of the other kids, but he's done a really good job, staying up and being at everything and working hard. Michael McWilliams plays right field, and he's done a very good job. He's hitting in the 2-hole for us, and I put him in a lot of bad spots sometimes trying to get Jarrett some steals and a lot of 0-2 counts, 1-2 counts, but he just keeps fighting. So all my seniors are being very productive.
You mentioned steals. As a former pitcher, did you have a great pickoff move, or was that?
It was okay. It was okay. It was more keep him close and let the catcher do his job. And that's all I've tried to get our kids to do is just keep kids close and give the catcher a chance. You don't want to get that walking lead or a huge lead. So I held him close enough, I guess.
Right. We're joined today by Bruce Stanley. He's the head coach of the Shenandoah baseball team. He's a Shenandoah graduate, played 4 years at Ball State, drafted by the Orioles in the senior year, the Royals. Kind of chose family over baseball after college, needed a little bit of break, had a little bit of burnout issues.
Yeah.
Now you've got a great teaching career, great baseball team. We talked about your family earlier. Your wife, Holly, who basically named your son Cy after hearing the name Cy Young, the former obviously great, what do you win, 500, 600 games or something?
Yeah, his stats are unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And then your daughter, Meg's 12 years old, sixth grader at Shenandoah. We kind of talked off the air. She's getting ready to get into kind of the travel softball circuit here in a little while. Your son plays for the Indy Bulls baseball travel team. What can a kid get out of a travel team? For parents who are kind of looking into that, you know, all they know is Little League or the City League, what does a travel team offer that maybe those leagues don't?
The next level. It really is next level. You really, it gives you the chance to find out where your kid is in the state of Indiana. If I guess travel ball's got two options. Your kids want to go to college and play, or they don't. If you get into the high level travel ball, you find out real quick what disappointment can be. But then again, you can also find, is your kid willing to elevate their game to the next level to be able to compete with the best kids in the state? And my daughter's right at that brink. You know, she loves it. You know, she tells me every day she wants to play in the Olympics and she wants to be a professional softball player. And I said, okay. So my job as a parent then is to put her in those situations to be able to give her those opportunities. So we're gonna look at some travel ball next year and try to get her to find that next level.
Do you understand softball pitching at all? Because to me, it looks like a totally different endeavor than baseball pitching.
I have a few people on speed dial that I call quickly when we start throwing. Because I get it a little bit, but not. I think I may make it worse than I help. So.
Have you ever tried to hit a really good softball pitcher?
I played one summer of fast pitch softball, and that was enough. That was enough.
Okay.
That is hard. Yeah, it's a different thing.
You were a fastball pitcher in college. What do you think if you had a radar gun today timing you, what could you get up to?
Probably not hard enough to make a difference.
You could probably
I don't know.
90 maybe?
No, I don't know. I throw to the kids. I throw to the kids every day, but it's more from 40 feet than it is 60 feet. So I don't even know the last time I've even been at 60 feet.
Did you? It's very rare for a pitcher who pitches at any length to kind of get out of their career without any arm injuries. How was your health?
I had a little elbow trouble my freshman year. Had a trainer that we worked 6 months to get it back in shape, and it didn't tear. It was close to a tear, so I didn't have to have surgery. But since that point in time, I knock on wood, haven't had any problems really. I think I got lucky.
That's awesome. We'll take a break there. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about high school ball and travel ball, and maybe a little bit more about injuries with Coach Bruce Stanley of the Shenandoah baseball team. This is One on One with Brian Harmon. We'll be right back.
I stand up.
I stand up for my school.
I stand up.
I stand up for my family.
I stand up.
I stand up for my team.
I stand up.
I stand up for my community.
We stand up to the pressure of alcohol and drug use.
Welcome back to One on One with Brian Harmon. I am Brian Harmon, sports editor of the Greenfield Daily Reporter. We're joined today by Bruce Stanley. He's the head coach of the Shenandoah baseball team, first-year head coach, although he was an assistant coach for several years after playing at Shenandoah and Ball State. Coach, we kind of touched on injuries a little bit before, and I'm curious, with the specialization in sports we see today, kids going from high school baseball to travel baseball in the summer, how does a kid make sure his arm doesn't get worn out?
Good question, actually. One of the big things, my son plays for the Indiana Bulls. They have shutdown periods that they like kids to stay within. They have periods of a month or so where they don't want kids throwing, and then when you start coming back, they have pretty strict rules as far as when you get back on a mound, when you do your flat ground work. But it's just arm care. It's making sure you're doing your lifts, making sure your whole body's strong. making sure you just take care of yourself, doing everything you need to. Conditioning's a big thing too. I mean, the stronger you are and the better shape you're in, the less you use your arm. So it's hard. I mean, you just have to have those shutdown periods where kids can just totally recover.
Besides staying healthy, I know another thing that's important for sports teams, all high school sports team, is raising money. All school budgets are kind of tight these days, so if a team can raise money for itself towards whatever, that always helps. And I know you guys have a golf fundraiser towards that end coming up. Tell us a little bit about that golf fundraiser.
Yeah, on May 17th at Valley View Golf Course in Middletown, we have our 4th annual golf outing. It's always a good time. You know, we always have tons of door prizes. You know, 50-50 drawings. Last year, I think we average on probably 20 to 25 teams, teams of 4. So it's a great fundraiser for us. It basically wraps up our year, then gives us the budget to start with the next year. Okay. That allows us to make sure we get our hats, uniforms, you know, things we need to get bought.
And how could people sign up for that? Can they sign up the day of, or should they contact someone in advance?
Yeah, it's 8:45 tee time.
Okay.
You can check out the Shenandoah Facebook page. We also have a Twitter account, RaiderBB15, that you can get on there, and I've got the flyer posted there. You know, and I'm sure it's. Seems like I've tried to put that flyer up everywhere I can.
Right.
So.
The golf fundraiser, there's a million other things that go on behind the scenes of being a high school baseball coach, aren't there?
Yeah, I found that out this year.
Right.
Jack, who I coached with all these years, I always wondered, I'm like, man, why is he so stressed? You know,
Right.
what's going on? And now I know why.
Right.
It's just the umpire things that, you know, I just filled out an umpire survey today. It's the all-state nominations. It's the stats. It's the making sure things are in the right places. If you don't have your things in the right places at the right time, you don't get votes for that week. Or, but yeah, there's a lot more than I thought there was.
And previously, when a parent was waiting outside the dugout to talk to a coach, you could just walk by. Now you're the guy, right?
Yeah. I told my coaches, I said, I'll take that one. I'll take it. If
Right.
they have a problem, send them to me. But Jack was always big about that too. But yeah, that's the first thing you look at as we're cleaning up the field. I'm looking out beyond the field, looking at the dugout to see what parents back there to maybe want to talk. So.
And how do you handle that? I mean, obviously parents have a right to be concerned about their kid, but at the same time, you have goals that are maybe, I don't know, team-oriented, or maybe they have tunnel vision. I mean, how do you handle parents?
It's a touchy situation. I think if you handle the kids correctly, the parents are easier to handle. I'm real open with my kids on where I see them, real open on what I think they need to improve on. You know, this was the first year we did self-evaluations at the beginning of the year. We had 3 days of tryouts. On the second day of tryouts, I gave them an evaluation to fill out on themselves, and my coaching staff and I filled out an evaluation, and we compared them, sat down and talked about it, gave them copies of both, and kind of sent that home with them to where, and I said, hey, if your parents have any concerns or questions, feel free to give me a call. I haven't had any really, you know. I mean, that's another thing I learned from Jack. If you're upfront and honest and you let kids know what you expect and where you see them, it kind of eliminates a lot of that.
We talked about the golf fundraiser as a way to raise expenses. I know kids generally are responsible, or they can buy their own bats. We kind of recently did an article and some research, and I knew bats were expensive, but there are bats out there, $600, $700, $800. There's a $1,000 bat out there for high school baseball. What advice do you give your kids where they want the best cleats or the best bat? I mean, is it okay to have that kind of bat, or do they not need it, or what's your take?
I think it depends on your level. It depends on how serious you are. You know, if you're a kid who plays in a rec league, you probably don't need to spend $450 on a bat if you don't want to go to college. You know, if you see yourself wanting to go to the next level, you know, I look at bats like that or that cost for a reason. You know, they're better. For me, bat-wise, I tell my kids, get something you like, get something that feels comfortable. You know. You just have to keep it within reason. You know, my son doesn't have that. He sees the top end of everything, but which is fine. You know, but it just depends on how serious you want to take things and what level you want to go to.
Your pitchers, people are concerned about breaking balls and the effects on the arm. Is that a legitimate concern, or is that kind of blown out of proportion?
It's a little bit of a concern. I think if you're throwing 50 curveballs a game, that's one thing. I'm the kind of a person, I'm more of a fastball changeup guy, mixing a curveball. that's just kind of my philosophy. I try not to. I try to watch as I'm keeping my pitching chart how many curveballs, how many fastballs. It's a concern, but if you're in shape and you're doing the things you should have done in the off season to be in shape right now, and you're doing the arm carry you should do, and you're throwing things correctly, I don't think it's as big as a concern as some people throw it out to be.
We were kind of joking a little bit off the air. You guys have 1 home run this season, team-wide.
Yeah.
But yet you're well above 500. You're having a great year. You kind of reversed your record from last year. Aaron McCambridge is your only guy, senior first baseman, to hit a home run for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that just kind of shows that you guys are really grinding out victories.
Yeah, we really are. Aaron's done a great job. He was hit and miss last year as a junior, and he, again, bought in this winter and spent time in the cage, spent time in the weight room, and he hit his first one. So we were really excited for him.
You mentioned that coming into the season, you didn't want to give the kids a lot of pub because they hadn't necessarily shown anything yet. You guys were, what was the record last year?
10-15.
And then you took over this year as head coach. You've already got 10 wins.
Yeah.
Here when we still have a long way to go in the season. And I know you don't want to put necessarily specific goals, but what is a successful 2015 going to look like for you guys? Do you have to finish with a winning record?
Yeah, I think we do. We talked all year. That 20-win mark seems to be the plateau of when you can feel like you've really been successful, and that's kind of where we set it all year. I felt like with the kids I have, the work ethic they put in, they've done their part. I need to do mine now, and I feel like you look back in 3 or 4 games of a season, it does come down to coaching, and we feel like we're a 20-win team. I mean, I've been a part of numerous 20-win teams, and they don't have anything that this team doesn't have. Schedule's boosted a little bit, but I still feel like we're a 20-win team.
You mentioned kind of the value of coaching there. Obviously, your knowledge and your experience is tremendous. Sounds like Shenandoah couldn't ask for a better head coach, but have you screwed up yet? Have you sent a guy from third that you shouldn't have? Or?
Yeah, but I'll go back to the Indiana Bulls. Their head director's name's Dan Held. He said, if you're coaching third base and you don't get one person thrown out at home a game, you're not doing something right. So, yeah, there's been times when I, haven't brought a kid to third, or I've sent a kid from second, or, like I say, I'm aggressive. So I guess if I've made my mistakes, it's erring on, the aggressive aspect rather than holding kids and then not scoring a run. We've got the philosophy, we want to make the other team have to catch it and throw it. And, if you don't create that, then, they're high school kids. They're going to make mistakes, just like our kids are going to make mistakes.
Kids have a green light, or they have to get the signal to steal?
Oh, they have to get the signal.
Okay.
Yeah. Jarrett Vardaman, he had the green light last year, and he took off a couple times, and I'd stand at third and I'd say, hey, whoa. So, but we're on an understanding, and he gets it now. He said, well, I had a green light last year.
Right.
So.
Shenandoah will play Knightstown May 22nd in the first round of the Henry County Baseball Tournament. Where's that at, Coach? Is each game at a different place?
Yeah, okay, on the Saturday game, I know we have at Shenandoah. I think we play at Tri High. I think is the first game.
Okay, and you guys will play the winner of Blue River Valley Tri in the second round. Assuming you beat Knightstown, hopefully you do, obviously.
Yes.
And then you're in a sectional at the end of the year that is at, I want to say LaPelle's hosting this year. It's at LaPelle.
Yep.
That includes Frankton, number 2 ranked LaPelle, Muncie Burris, you guys, state champ Wapahani, and Winchester. For fans who haven't seen Shenandoah baseball before, we're talking about grinding it out.
Yeah.
What else can they expect from your team the rest of this year?
A lot of excitement, a lot of fun. That's one thing we talked about all winter too, was just, you can't play baseball stressed. You got to be relaxed and you got to have fun. And this group of kids I have are just, I don't know, they're just a great group. I mean, they're fun, they're energetic, they joke with each other. We just have a lot of fun. And
as I look through your schedule, you kind of mentioned it earlier, winning the one-run games. I mean, 12-11, 7-6. Win or loss, you guys are in just about every game.
Yeah, we have been. And I told my kids, I said, hey, we can win by more than one. And they said, no, we like for you to stay on edge, Coach. I said, we're okay. We can win by more than one. And I think that's the next game we played Hagerstown. We ended up winning 8-1. But I said, I like those better guys.
Well, you don't have any gray hair yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
So we'll see how that changes the next. We'll check in next year with you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Coach, I want to thank you for appearing on the program.
Thanks for
having me. It's been a pleasure. Good luck
Thanks
to you
for
guys
having
the rest of the year.
Thank you.
This is One-on-One with Brian Harmon. Just a reminder to the viewers, NineStar Connect Sports broadcasts a lot of local high school sports, so be sure to check in baseball, softball action the rest of the spring. We'll catch you on the next program. This is One-on-One with Brian Harmon.